Welcome back, everybody. This is Paul again, 2012crossing.com, and I've been making this series about astrology, basically aimed at skeptics or people who have a marginal interest in it and so on. And this is the fourth in the series. I strongly suggest you watch the other three. It'll give you some perspective, basically, and I've been giving you some broad understandings of what kind of system we're living in here. And I wanted to recommend a book here. Back in the old days, when people actually got a real education, it was very important. These four subjects called the quadrivium: number, geometry, music, and cosmology. You know how today we have reading, writing, and arithmetic. For a long, long time, a real education included symbolism, mythology, religion, language, all kinds of amazing stuff. And I just want to introduce this book here called the Quadrivium, and it's the study of the liberal arts, the four classical liberal arts, basically, and all about symbolism, numbers, math, geometry, music, harmony, incredible, incredible stuff. And this was called the basics of an education for a long time. Now I want to get back into the discussion of astrology and how it works. A lot of people say, well, it doesn't, nothing affects me. Well, excuse me, but there's a lot that affects you. Electricity affects you, humidity affects you, air pressure affects you. So there's a lot of things that are affecting us in our daily life that we don't really realize, including our mind is being affected by electrical situations, and we know that more and more, and there's a big debate now, even with the cell phones that we use, that we really truly get affected by very subtle energies, and that's kind of the point. Now, in astronomy and so on, there's a lot of talk, gravity this, gravity that, but actually, gravity is actually a small proportional force, actually, because, for example, it takes a huge planet to make me weigh 200 pounds. But if you have a 200-pound object sitting down there and you have the right kind of electromagnetic force, you can pick that 200 pounds right off and defeat the entire Earth's gravity. So in a sense, gravity is only one part of it. And there's a new theory out there, I won't get into it right here, but electrogravitics. There's a lot of people working on this right now, basically stating that the universe has a polarity system involved, and it's circulating plasma, you might say, on a massive scale, on a subtle scale, from the infinitely gross to the infinitely fine. And I won't get into that here, but basically the idea is that there's some kinds of forces that are acting on us that we don't even realize. We can't realize it. I mean, now they have like instruments that sense a lot of different things, but they don't know the meaning of the things. I mean, for a long time, for example, they thought radiation was cool. Hey, if you put this radiation on you, it'll cure all your diseases or whatever, before they discovered that that wasn't really true. So there's things that affect us that we just really don't have a clue. And astrology is an attempt to look into some of those very, very subtle systems, and a lot of it had to do with timing, because if you just look at something really basic, the sun comes up in a day, and immediately, as soon as that light crosses the horizon, a whole bunch of stuff starts happening on Earth. Every single day. And then every single day, depending on the season, that day, there's going to be just a little bit more light, and another sliver of light during the day, and another sliver of light, until finally it gets to the point where it's the longest day, and then it starts going the other way. So there's just this minute increase and decrease of light energy that, we say we're not affected by it. I'll tell you what, the leaves are affected by it, the flowers are affected by it, the birds are affected by it, we're affected by it. And so part of the astrology is to look, okay, where's the timing? Where does something start? Now, if you look at if you live in the northern hemisphere, there's a certain time of year comes when the days start getting longer, and now things can grow more, and they do grow more. So you have a whole different energy system coming in. So let's say anybody born at that time of the year, or even if you start something at that time of the year, there's a good chance that there's like an escalating energy going on, and we use that in astrology. We call it Aries, the symbolism of Aries, in some kind of infusion, you might say, the seed breaking opening, something happens, there's an energy release, you might say. And it was noticed. I mean, you can notice that in the sun and so on. So after a long time of observation, it seemed to me that it was obvious that people finally realized that not only is there like a daily cycle, and then there's an annual cycle, and then there's a thousands and thousands of years cycle, and so on. And they, we wonder, well, where are the ruins from those cultures? Well, those cultures that invented astrology are so long ago that it was just handed down. The only thing we have is still teaching. The fact that it keeps going on and on and on for a long time, there's some relevance to astrology because it has to do with, again, this timing. The timing of when systems start to grow, systems start to end. There's basically a cycle, the creation cycle. It starts as a seed, and then it breaks the seed, and it starts to grow, and then it grows fast for a while, and then it tapers off, and then it just decays, And they came up with these symbols, that really are quite profound. Again, the yin-yang signal. And it is a signal because it's a demonstration for those people who understand. And again, you can observe a lot of the different objects in space. If you look at a flower, for example, you can see the geometry, you can see the spirals, you can see it in evidence in the world. You don't have to have these fine instruments. So there's some sort of as above, so below, that they were involved in some sort of what they call a fractal system where we are a tiny, 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 tiny thing compared to something, but we are also incredibly huge compared to something else. So there's an ascending and infinitely ascending and descending spiralic motion, which they call the cosmic breath. And it has to do with as something's breathed in and then it's breathed out. It comes into manifestation. There's an inbreathing where there's the imagination, the building, the thinking, the planning, and then there's the activity to build it. You see, so there's a lot of cycles that are involved in nature, and this is what astrology really came from, the observation of that. Now, a little bit of a system here. This is the solar system representation. Now, for example, the axis of the solar system might even be wobbling. Planets are definitely wobbling. And we might have the Oort cloud around here, which might be representing some sort of basically the edge of a field or a bubble of electromagnetic energy that in relation to the cosmos. Let's say if we transit through another part of the cosmos where the polarity out there is different than the polarity here, then all of a sudden we have a whole different thing going on. Even a subtle change. If you look at a cell, the cell membrane, if it changes the polarity slightly, it'll either draw in something from the outside or it'll take it out. And again, this is basically a principle that's found in nature, and if we apply that on a large scale, we'll see that our whole solar system here is just absolutely fabulously incredible. That's the amazing part of it. If you study some of the astrology and you get into some of the symbolism and the math and geometry and so on, and someone had an incredible genius over thousands of years to do this. This is not something that someone woke up one day and they say, hey, let's start this cool thing called astrology. This is an evolution that took for a long, long time. For example, and again, one of the complaints, to just go over it real quickly here, where people say, well, we're just talking about, as we precessed, and it's not in the same constellations and so on. But actually, yes, that's true. But then you have you have a beginning of a cycle, and then one tick within that cycle, and then 2 ticks within that cycle, and 3 ticks within, and basically the same proportions within a different position. Again, it gets very complicated. So I want to just, explain to people that please, by all means, read a lot of the books that I've recommended and investigate this because it's extremely fascinating. I'm going to try to get into a little more specific stuff regarding some of the polarities and some of the symbols that are involved in astrology and some of the other episodes. So thanks again for watching.